The Scarlet King. It says something that in a multiverse full of terrifying, world-ending monsters like the Sealed King, the Hanged King, a lot of kings come to think of it, the Crimson Khan himself overpowers them all. But today we want to pose and hopefully answer an interesting question. How actually powerful is the Scarlet King? After all, he's apparently the greatest threat the Foundation has ever faced. We'd be fools to not analyze what we're dealing with as an adversary here. Despite his exploits being well documented, there's a lot about the Scarlet King's personal life we still don't know. What is he doing to pass the time in that multiversal void while awaiting his minions to open a portal into our world? Does he have friends? Fulfilling hobbies? Do you think he watched Squid Game like the rest of us? We just don't know. Because of these gaps in our knowledge, we're taking a pretty wide definition of power here. We're not only going to analyze the presumed abilities of the king himself, but also his reputational and institutional power, including the abilities of the allies and henchmen in his thrall. And of course, to keep things balanced, we're also going to take a look at his weaknesses, both potential and confirmed, to get a bigger picture of the net power of the Scarlet King. So grab your prophetical Davite tablets and find a grungy occult warehouse near you. We're gonna find out just how powerful the King of the Darkness Below really is. First things first, what exactly is the Scarlet King? According to the lore given to us by the Dust and Blood Tablet, he's technically an elder god, born into a whole race of godlike beings in the vast abyss below the Tree of Life. Already before he even developed his later powers, it's clear that this puts the Scarlet King into an entirely different weight class to any human beings, even anomalously enhanced ones like Abel or Dr. Bright. It's very likely that the Scarlet King's very understanding of the concepts of life and death differ greatly from what we mere mortals think about the subject. But the Scarlet King isn't your granddad's elder god. He spent the first eons of his life becoming the greatest warlord that the multiverse has ever known, killing and consuming his own siblings in order to amass greater domination over the darkness below. As he slaughtered his way through the ancient divine hierarchy, he not only expanded his territory, he honed his skills as a combatant. Even against elder gods his own size, the Scarlet King is an almost unstoppable warrior, either slaughtering his godly foes or scarring them so bad that they bent the knee to him and devote the rest of their lives to service. In short, even without any of his allies or anomalous powers, he's a true master when it comes to one-on-one combat. The Scarlet King is also the kind of tyrant who leads from the front, wanting to get even more red on his iconic crimson armor. After all, what's the fun in starting wars with everyone if you don't get to bask in the glorious thrill of bloodshed and mass carnage, right? The Scarlet King is a big believer in loving what you do. Point is, we're looking at a warrior king who can slaughter gods and goddesses with his bare hands, and takes great pleasure in doing so. To him, humans are unusually intelligent ants, mocking him with their love of life, peace, order, and science. Well, for the most part anyway. Physically, he's astonishingly powerful, but that still leaves him with certain handicaps. For example, his ability to traverse dimensions is not what he wants it to be. Thanks to the tireless work of groups like the SCP Foundation, every single one of his attempts to physically enter our universe has failed. However, this doesn't mean that he doesn't have the power to at least influence our world, even if he hasn't quite gotten the opportunity to personally slam dunk planet Earth into the sun yet. The Scarlet King, like a lot of eldritch beings beyond human comprehension, is able to drive human beings insane with the mere scope of his abilities, having easily broken the mind of Dr. Montauk when he learned of the Scarlet King's true nature. The Scarlet King is also capable of bringing out the worst in people, projecting his boundless desire for cruelty and malice into those vulnerable to him. As a truly ancient being, he's had eons of experience and could easily outsmart and destroy the psyche of any non-anomalous human being arrogant or foolish enough to try to face him. From his SCP-001 file as well as the classified documents on Procedure 110 Montauk, we also know that the Scarlet King is able to perceive things in our dimension in a limited fashion. While he isn't truly omniscient outside his own reality like our traditional perception of the Abrahamic God, he can sense feelings and energies, his favorites being hate, cruelty, and violence. However, this strength can also be used against him, thanks to the Foundation's knowledge of how the Scarlet King's perceptive abilities work. For example, they were able to trick the Scarlet King into buying their lie about Procedure 110 Montauk, simply through a massive and coordinated information campaign that convinced a huge number of people that Procedure 110 Montauk actually was a horrifying act of profound inhumanity. And if it worked once in this fashion, it could be used to shield other things from the Scarlet King's knowledge, creating a huge weakness for this would-be conqueror. However, the Scarlet King doesn't need to wage his evil war alone. He is, after all, the Scarlet King, an evil monarch whose reign brings darkness and barbarism, and as such, he's indivisible from the forces who help him carry out his depraved goals. This segues nicely into our next question about the power level of the Scarlet King. What exactly are his supposed armies? Who are his boots on the ground? We'll start with the human and human adjacent. Probably the most common of the groups that the Foundation are forced to counter are Scarlet King cultists, such as members of groups like the Children of the Scarlet King. They may not be the largest group of interest or the most trained or well-funded, but they have one thing over all the other GOIs: truly boundless depravity. If you take a look over the full file for SCP-001, not only will you feel like you need a shower, you'll also realize that there isn't anything these hooded monsters wouldn't do in service of their dark master. Kidnapping and murder are the two more mild crimes. Like with most dangerous cults, the Scarlet King's followers are heavily decentralized and may have nothing that easily pegs them as his devotees. The fact that he has human eyes and ears hidden everywhere is an undeniable feather in the king's bloody crown. But these non-anomalous cultists only amount to a fraction of the king's earthly forces. He's had human armies and civilizations pledge allegiance to his cause over the course of history. Take, for example, SCP-3838, the Nomads of the Fourth Dimensional Steppe. These tribes of Turkmen warriors exist in the exact same place at vastly different points in time, traveling via a mysterious ritual and a magical yurt. At least one of these tribes worship the Scarlet King and have a vested interest in his rule over all things. But of course, no section about the armies of the Scarlet King would be complete without his biggest fans, a little extinct culture known as the Davites. Well, extinct for now, at least, because SCP-140, an incomplete chronicle, always leaves the possibility of their return as an open question. So who exactly were these ancient conquerors? Just in case you've repressed the memory, the Davites were an entire society of hyper-violent monsters that loved to use imperialism, slavery, and subjugation to get whatever they wanted, and killed all who defied them. Think of them like the British Empire, with more magic and less tea. They based their entire civilizational philosophy on the teachings and lifestyle of the Scarlet King, which is to say, absolute primal brutality rules, and he who can stomp on everyone else is the leader. And of course, nobody stomps harder than the Scarlet King. If ever SCP-140 was exposed to too much ink or blood, the Davites would wind up ruling the modern world, and in all likelihood, they'd do it in the name of the Scarlet King. But those are only his human and human-adjacent servants. For starters, he's also got a legion of conquered elder gods who've pledged fealty to him, and are now some of the most loyal warriors for their brutal tyrant of a boss. However, even a legion of elder gods is nothing compared to the Scarlet King's generals, 6 of his 7 daughters. Funny, even the most evil nightmare being ever conceived indulges in a little nepotism here and there. Though, in his defense, it isn't easy being a single father. Admittedly, that's only because he crushed their mother, the kind goddess Sana, to death in cold blood. Each one of his daughters gives him access to new armies and powers. The golden child, Atvik, brings tactical brilliance and advanced knowledge of all things warfare, with children who are equally well-versed in the combat arts. Then there's Aghor, who makes up for what she lacks in quality with sheer, insane quantity. Her children have produced obscenely large armies that can overwhelm their foes like the living tides of hatred and murder, all of which are loyal to the Scarlet King himself. Next, Adisat, a desolate daughter as mean and hateful as her dear old dad. Her armies charge forth, declaring victory in the name of the king. They also have the ability to spread devastating pestilence with their mere presence, making other armies deathly ill and probably making SCP-049 feel extremely anxious. He's also got Azieb, probably his biggest, scariest daughter, that appears in the form of a giant, unstoppable beast. Her armies are also bestial nightmares, and she herself seems impossible to harm with any mortal weapon. There's Ahnut, the Scarlet King's frailest daughter, but unnatural when it comes to all things magic. She and her reality-warping children are actually so powerful that the Scarlet King himself felt a little threatened by them, and he had them all physically disabled. Now the Scarlet King has unfettered access to powerful thaumaturgy at his disposal. And then there's Atlif, his most mysterious daughter, who prides herself on privacy and is, accordingly, a master in the art of stealth, with her and her children having the ability to change their faces and walk among people unnoticed. With such absurdly huge armies, a large number of emissaries in our world, and 6 daughters who grant him obscene and varied powers, it's clear that the Scarlet King truly is the most powerful enemy that the SCP Foundation has ever faced. However, his most major weakness is his 7th daughter and her offspring, Ahabat, the child of hope, and the only daughter strong in spirit enough to fight back against her monstrous father. Her children are great heroes, and one of them is believed to be SCP-099, the Tickle Monster. The Scarlet King may have sown the seeds of his own destruction, as is prophesized that if SCP-099 is nurtured and continues to grow, he may one day become strong enough to defeat the Scarlet King's evil with his sheer force of good. With all these Scarlet King strengths, powers, allies, and weaknesses, I think we can confidently answer the question: how actually powerful is the Scarlet King? To put it simply, he's extremely powerful, perhaps more powerful than anything else out there, but he's still not invincible. The next question is whether the Foundation can identify the cracks in the Scarlet King's blood-stained armor before he enters our world and annihilates everything we know and love. Now go check out Children of SCP-001, the Scarlet King. Is SCP-999 really his son? And SCP-001 Scarlet King Dust and Blood for more insider information on the first word in pure undiluted evil.